Under the same table again, doing Jefferson County business. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
President County for us, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, it's super majority here. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. And if County Manager Cal Market would lead us in a word of prayer.
I'll be glad to. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all our blessings, and we just pray peace on the county commissioners as they have to make so many difficult decisions. We thank you for county attorney and all the department heads that work hard to try to make good decisions and bring glory to you. Pray for our country. We just pray for revival. We pray for our military. We just pray you lift us all up and bring us back to you and help us to focus on you and love each other the way we should. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Amen. Let's go backwards. Is that okay, Steve?
That's quick and easy. I got 3 grants. Maybe there were 5.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I give my, thank you, and I give my portion of ACCA. I was on the nominating committee for ACCA to hire a minority and inclusion member of the board as well as vice president. I'll leave that one for later. And one of the awards that was given out was for Tony Patelos as having the most influence and effect on county government, which is very fitting on his way out. And as we announced a new county manager, and he was a big part. Cal was a big part of the conversation at the conference, where lots of folks that he's dealt with in Baldwin County and throughout the state recognized and were congratulating us on a good hire. Beyond that, I'll leave all the other announcements for other members of the commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Knight.
All right, we have finance, Ms. Dixon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Item number 1 is our unusual demand report. Item 2, 3, 4 are our normal person agenda, person reception, and encumbrance reports. Item 5 is the Jefferson County Credit Union Procurement Statement. Item 6 is a PACA partnership with the County Schools. Item 7 is Choctaw County PACA partnership. Item number 8 is a vendor name change from Santec to Ethos Services so that we can move forward with a service change. Item number 9 is Kavanaugh McDonald OPEB valuation. This is done as a part of the update of the OPEB liability for the county. Under Budget Management Office, we have multiple staff development and individual staff development, a couple informational items, and then under the budget agenda, we have 2 items. The first item is a reimbursement from state courts for the sheriff's office. And the second item is to increase the sheriff's budget to accommodate funding for the jail and some other items that they have identified as a need.
What are the other identified needs?
I think it was some other things related to the helicopter. So we're just trying to get through that, and we think we'll be able to cover that once we close out the carry grant.
Is that on top of what we already did on the emergency contract? I thought that was budgeted.
The emergency contract.
Did we authorize?
There was no difference in the price up, like that was already budgeted. I think they just wanted to move forward with getting that through the process quicker.
Okay, so was that the? All right, I'm just interested in the one that requires additional funds.
Yeah, the majority of it related to the jail cleaning. They haven't been able to do any of that for a few weeks, and they had expressed that there was a couple of things that they need to take care of outside of that. So,
Well, wouldn't that come out of rescue funds?
the rescue funds have not been utilized at this point, so this is an urgent need. We think we'll be able to accommodate with CARES money that was left over with the
We can
closeout.
reimburse our general fund with those funds.
Or just use those directly?
Until we move forward with the American Rescue Plan, that's not something that I've been bringing forth. So we do have CARES Act funding that was not spent, that we'll utilize that instead.
What amount is the sheriff requesting?
This is $500,000.
I want to know more about what these additional funds
Yes,
are.
sir.
I agree.
I mean, cleaning, that's not $500,000.
Well, actually, I think they would have requested more. And I worked through some of the details with them to come up to the
You aware of this?
$500,000. But I'll definitely, I don't know if Rodney is on the line from the sheriff's office.
Anybody on the line from the sheriff's department? Get us an itemized request, please, for $500,000 instead of just a general cleaning and other items. We need to be a little bit more specific, I think.
I think they might need to just give us the request for all what they need dealing with COVID. Because if they're going to keep coming back and forth,
Well, they've got a $18 million request in.
but that's for the American Rescue. That is not
Well, I know.
dealing with the COVID itself.
I mean, we're not opposed to it, we just like a little bit more.
I would like to see it too, because the employees are getting COVID over there. And with the Delta version, I think that's not fair to put them at risk like that.
I'll move items 1 through 9 as well as staff development and item 1 on the budget agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I do have another question on the Kavanaugh McDonald OPEB evaluation. When will that be complete? When will we, because that's a number I've been trying to get a handle on as far as what we need to fund and how we need to fund it, and what is our liability.
As of last year, we had a $120 million liability, and they update that based on the benefits and then the actuarial studies that they do. We're hoping to get that done earlier this year, but it just depends on the response rate for the department.
Do we have any idea of how much we actually pay out in OPEB benefits each year?
I don't have that number, but I can work
I
with
think
it.
it'd be a good number to know too. 120 million, is that what, are they saying that you need to have that on hand?
That's the liability, and we work towards funding that.
And we have been, yeah.
Yes.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, what are we going to do about this item 2 on the budget agenda? We passed 1.
I'd agree that I'd like to see more information before we pass anything to the agenda.
Okay.
We have a meeting next week. I mean, if nothing's in emergency status, I'd like to see more information and maybe include it in next week's.
Is that sanitizing the jail?
The majority of it is sanitizing the jail, but I did get an email from Clinton. It was, like I said, the request that he asked for was a lot more than that, and I worked to bring it down some, but I can email that to the commissioners, just so that you have a point of reference.
Because I think there was a question like, go ahead and use your remaining budget now, and then we'll catch up, but supposedly they said they keep.
They had indicated to me they weren't able to put all their contracts in, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss anything at the end of the year, because we'll be closing the fiscal year out shortly.
Okay.
So I didn't want to hinder them from being able to move forward.
All right, under the sheriff budget agenda, item 2 will pass to the next committee meeting. All right. General services.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have 2 items on the agenda. The first item is for the sewer mat rental That's for 14 locations throughout the portfolio. And the second item is a deductive change order for the Tom Gore roof replacement project.
All right, general services 1 and 2, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes, ma'am.
right in front of the sheriff's office is here, I don't know if you want to.
We'll come back to you in just a second. We have a question on that request for 500,000.
Right.
All right, human resources,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
I'm Melissa Walton, and wanted to let you all know we have 5 benefits-related contracts on the agenda and 1 employment contract for the Director of Development Services position. As you all are aware, the county offers great benefits to its employees at competitive rates. As a result of this, if time permits, we've invited Corey Charlotte of Betalytics to provide an overview of the county's efforts in offering comprehensive benefits at competitive rates while promoting wellness to our employees. Mercy Obari is on the line as well. She's attending this meeting, and she's the division manager of the benefits team, where they've done an outstanding job with benefits administration. And she's here to answer any questions if needed outside of Corey's update. Now I will turn it over to Corey.
Good morning. The Commission 2 years ago passed 2 of the most innovative cost-saving healthcare initiatives in the country. One was Catapult Health, which is biometric screening, and the other is PAC Health, which is one-on-one coaching for people with chronic diseases. Now, even in the private sector, an employer might do one option or the other. Very few, if any, do both. This commission did both. As with most of these initiatives, it takes a few years, 2 years actually, to get results in. We've finally gotten results in. So to let you know what an outstanding job these programs have done, let's look at Catapult Health. Catapult Health is free biometric screenings. They take 3 drops of blood from a finger stick, and they run all kinds of tests. For example, nearly 1 in 3 Jefferson County employees who had never had any history of blood pressure learned that they were not only at an elevated risk of heart attack, but they were already at stage 1 or stage 2 on the CDC hypertension scale. When we know that in advance, as we did with all of these employees, there are things that the health plan can do to prevent a heart attack. I think you all know it's a lot cheaper to prevent a heart attack than to pay for one. So based on that data, we probably head off at least 2 or 3 heart attacks. 1 in 5, no history of high blood sugar, learned that they were pre-diabetic. In other words, on the A1C scale, they were at 5.7 to 6.4. If you can keep somebody from passing over from 6.4 to 6.5 and 7 and 8, etc., you lower the cost for treating diabetes. So you're able to help a lot of people with that. Finally, 40% of employees learned that they were either borderline or high for LCL, which is bad cholesterol. So we estimate that the county probably saved about $500,000 due to medical expenses that would otherwise have been incurred, for probably about 1/4 of what you spent. It's about a return of 4 to 1. In years going forward, we expect that return to increase. PAC Health. I told you before that people who didn't know they were at risk finally found out that they were at risk. What do? You don't know how to handle a chronic condition. PAC Health is a one-on-one coach who works with each individual personally to set up programs that they can do little steps to make small improvements. To give you an idea of how that program has worked, we've had close to 300 participants. And here are some of the average results that they have achieved. They've achieved a 2-point reduction, sustainable loss in BMI on the CDC obesity scale. And for every point that somebody gets reduced on the obesity scale, there is a commensurate reduction in claims. We've seen a 100-minute per week increase in exercise, a 20 to 30% decrease in feelings of depression, fatigue, and anxiety. Very impressive considering the pandemic. And an average 3.5% increase on the PROMIS physical and mental health scales. I'm telling you this for two reasons. First of all, to commend the commission for having the guts to implement these things 2 years ago and get out in front of what nobody knew was going to occur, meaning the pandemic. Which leads me to the second point. Because of these cost-saving initiatives, HR is in the position of coming back to the commission with a request for the exact budget that you authorized last year, which is about a little bit over $41 million. I have to tell you, I don't know of any employer in the country who is not having to increase health care dramatically this year. So the budget, no change. Benefits, no changes recommended this year. And of course, we do suggest continuing these two initiatives because they work very well.
Are these initiatives before us today?
They're part of the overall request to approve the plan without any changes. And if you were to do that, yes, you would be approving the continuance of these two initiatives.
Well, I don't see these initiatives listed on our documents here.
It would be part of item number 2, which is the agreement for Jefferson County Commission Group Health Plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama.
Okay.
And that agreement includes these two initiatives because we get the data from, everything we're talking about in healthcare is driven by data. So Blue Cross manages the data, they manage the contract, and we manage the two companies through the Blue Cross contract.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. I have items 1 through 6.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Now, discussion.
Yes, I would like to ask a question. Since he was talking about different studies, I've seen on one of the national health channels about companies adding like health facilities like workout rooms to their companies, and that it helped with the insurance costs and it also helped with the employees' health. So do you think that with our large quantity of employees, would that help Jefferson County?
Yes, ma'am, that would probably help. In fact, HR had wanted to look at that last year. The pandemic, though, made it impossible to pursue. So the two initiatives that the commission had approved last year are not the final word. There are other steps that are to come. But we don't want to invest the commission's money in things that are premature or that can't provide a return. At this point, there's no feasibility, but it is something that we're looking at, and it is something that we may be able to bring back to you next year.
I have a motion, the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, compliance office.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Cricket Snyder. On the agenda today, we have the diversity and inclusion proposal from consultant The Legacy Group. This vendor will come in and help in the engagement will focus on the areas of diversity and inclusion, strategy development, inclusive leadership and effectiveness, and workplace culture. In this, the vendor will also have established metrics that will allow me to monitor the appropriate measures to ensure that as we move past the into a post-consent decree culture, that I will know exactly what to look like to ensure that we won't move backwards into anything that would have adverse impact in our hiring.
What are you doing now?
So right now, the compliance office is newly established. So I've been in the role for about 5 months. And so we have this semi-annual report that we have done and provided to the court. So it was whatever we had established from the court is still going on until the consent decree is terminated in June of 2022. So to my knowledge, there was not really a push toward training in regards to getting our management and our leadership ready to be a part of the hiring process, if indeed that is something that we decide to do, so that we will not fall backwards and get into practices that are unbecoming.
All right, thank you.
Move the item.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Personnel Board. We have Alacourt renewal for fiscal year 2021 and a Sienna Consulting 3-year contract. This is,
Acknowledgement?
yes.
I move it.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll move 1 through 4 into grants.
I have 1 through
Second.
4 and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I do need to add as a new business, and we request the commission to allow a new business item for the Tarrant Board of Education for the Tarrant High School. This is a band, for the band, an amount of $5,000. It's been through the system. Minute track is 7683.
Move for new business.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, or do I need a roll call?
You don't do roll call.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Move the item.
Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes my agenda report, but Mr. Hammonds has basically said what, you know, some of the things that Tony got recognized. We also had some other members of the county to be recognized with some awards. And I was fortunate enough to be elected vice president of the Association of County Commissions of Alabama. And that will be, that will, well, thank you. I do have one fan in the room.
Well, I voted for you.
And so what that entails is I'll be vice president next, beginning immediately. Next year, I will be president-elect, and then the next year I'll be president of the ACCA. So thank you, Steve. Thank you for your nomination. Thank you for your vote, Sheila. Y'all were there and voted for me, and I appreciate it so much, and look forward to that new venture.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that.
It's a great opportunity for us to have, for Jefferson County to have a face on the state level.
We haven't in quite a long time, so we'll move to the new level.
Well,
And I did. Let me go back. I still need to go back to the sheriff since Mr. Rodney is here. Mr. Rodney, there was a request for $500,000 to clean the jails and other items. We had questions about what the other items was, what's the cost that is projected to clean the jail, and for how long will that contract be for? And is there not a way that you can use your remaining budget this year in order to, until we can get to maybe the rescue funds in order to do that?
That's going to leave us short. Those other items that we're talking about is not only with the cleaning, which would get us through the end of the fiscal year, but also with the food. Due to COVID, the extra cost is with the items involving that with our food that has driven our food costs up. We're having to purchase individual waters, individual juices, plastic plates, forks, knives, stuff like that we have to throw away. All those things increase our costs, and that's what's has driven that need for extra for the food to get us through the rest of the fiscal year. So that's the extra expense. Along with, when we talk about cleaning the jail, we're talking about 2 jails at a minimum of 3 times a week at least to keep breakouts from happening. We're trying to get inmates who want to be vaccinated to get them vaccinated, but all these different costs that are associated with that is what drives our cost up. And a normal, in a jail, with the food-wise stuff, that our costs we can keep it down, because when you use big things for water and juice and things like that, you can't do that in a confined space like that. So the food costs is and expenses are the big thing along with that cleaning. So that's where that came in. And now all that's in line, get us through the rest of the fiscal year.
Which is 1 month, so it's gonna cost us $500,000 for 1 month?
You're talking, with, for example, with food, I mean, you can, for both jails and expenses, you could, 55 to 57,000 a week, you know, just for that, you know. You're cleaning, getting that clean for, say, the rest of the month, the whole month of September, plus we can get, you know, going this week, you're talking, you know, over 125, 30,000, so.
Well,
Yes.
if you can do this between now and Thursday, I'll ask that this be passed to the agenda, but would you give us an itemization of what you're requesting?
Yes, yes.
And I mean, be as specific as you can, because these are some general numbers too.
Okay.
You mean for next week's?
Or we,
Because
well,
we're
no,
meeting
that's
tomorrow.
right.
For next
We're
week?
gonna pass this a week, and then we'll take it up next week, and you'll get that, because I forgot we're having something in the morning, that'd be pretty quick. Is that?
Okay.
Yes, Commissioners, we think, talking to Justin that, and Whit O'Brien, these expenses will be reimbursed by FEMA. It fits their bill pretty good, so if the sheriff will work with us on their documentation, we can get that back that way. If not, we will be going for the recovery funds to get it back as well. But we wanted to try FEMA first, so not to use our recovery fund.
FEMA is usually at a percentage. Do you know what percentage?
I don't off the top of my head.
75%.
You need to get that for you.
80-20. 80-20, so our match would be 20. So, but I still think recovery funds
We may can get
are
the
gonna
20
be,
with recovery.
that's gonna be an eligible cost, so what does the commission wish to do on this item? I don't want to leave the sheriff in a lurch to where they can't do what they need to do over there.
Now, so you have people over there, so I think we should move it to the agenda.
I'd like to see more information. I mean.
Can you get me
next
some by in the morning?
Yes, there's no problem. I'll get you some numbers and projections on it, no problem.
It ain't like it ain't much, you can't really waste money when you're in a prison. It's only so much they can do with the funding anyway.
Well,
When
they say other
I'm willing to
items,
wait,
that's my.
because it might even go up. So, yeah, go ahead on it. And
Is that
give us
is that a motion?
Yes.
I have a motion to move it to the agenda. Do I have a second?
Can I amend that motion?
Yes, sir.
A motion to add it to the agenda pending a list from the sheriff's office.
I'll take that.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yeah. I'll go with his
Second,
motion.
didn't you?
Yeah. Second with amendment.
Looks like FEMA would be 100% for these particular items.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Rodney. If you'll get that to us by this afternoon, so that we'll have it. Okay, that concludes my report.
We have administrative and infrastructure committee, roads and transportation has 6 items that they need. Pretty much, any questions along those 6 for roads and trans?
Just a typo on item 4.
Sale instead of sale, sell instead of sale.
No, it's Washington.
No, Commissioners, no, that's not a typo.
Oh, it's Washington?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. I move 1 through 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. County attorney you've been busy. County attorney has 18 items, including 2 minute resolutions from 17, number 17, number 18. Most of these are vehicle damage claims, sewers, subrogation claims. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move 1 through 18.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Here's that JAG grant, 2021 JAG grant for acknowledgement only.
Move it.
How much is that one?
It-
Commissioner,
Excuse me, that should be pulled. That was actually addressed at the last meeting.
It was.
It
Yes,
was.
it sure
I
was.
sent an email out.
Okay.
It should not have appeared on this agenda.
Okay, so,
I got it marked on the March, on the 20th, it was approved.
okay, Public Information Office, Citizens Research Solution, I'm gonna skip the capital improvement plan, let Cal go ahead and do that. Then, the ETC Institute, which, a 1-year option to renew and 2 additional. Helen, I guess I probably need a little information on
I
that.
was gonna ask a question too.
Yes, sir. I'll switch now.
Yeah.
Snug around the back.
So, yes, sir, this is part of the strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan, and it is to survey both the citizens of Jefferson County to get a baseline, see where we are. And there's another component of it where we would survey customers of development services and some of our other departments to get a baseline of where we're serving those constituents as well. So it's 2 surveys, and we would get a comprehensive that's statistically valid. This organization that's done it, we did a request for qualifications through our procurement group. We got several submissions back. Independently, we all evaluated those, and we all unanimously chose ETC. They're an extremely experienced firm in doing this.
I understand your second survey about whether or not people are able to get their permits and get their inspections done through the developmental services. What is that first thing you talked about, just a survey to the citizens to tell us what? What do
We
we
can
stand?
evaluate how they feel like their roads are, what they would like to see in the community. Obviously, we haven't developed the surveys yet, but we would work with this company to do a survey that would evaluate essentially how the county is doing as a whole.
And we will come back to y'all
We're
with
good.
we'll come back to y'all with, kind of the finalized questions before it goes out.
I've dealt with this group before, picked it up from, City of Auburn's used it for a number of years. They put it out in their water bill every year. They offer different, not only that you could do it via paper, but you can also do it online. It also not only, so there's a period of, or 20 or 50 questions. And you have some that can be very specific to questions that we have that we want answered. But there are also some standard questions where it allows you to have a baseline to understand this is our starting point. If you want to do it going forward, a year or 2 from now, and it'll give you an opportunity to gauge how we're progressing or doing better based on that initial information. What I liked about ETCs is they will take counties of the same size and demographics and base what you're doing on other counties of the same size in other states or elsewhere, so you can really see what you're doing. For example, if you wanted to, the Sheriff's Department, if you want to see how the Sheriff's Department's doing, you could add a question in that, and you could see a baseline as to what they're doing elsewhere, or garbage pickup. How do they base garbage pickup? Public safety.
We don't want to ask about
I was going to say, we might want to
Hold off on that one
for a minute.
But
I'm still sending you
yeah.
emails for that.
It's a good opportunity, because a lot of times we hear from the loudest voices. It's a good opportunity for us to gauge what we're seeing from countywide, and it is to where it's a statistically significant.
My philosophy is, if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. And so this is an opportunity for us to know, to get a sense of where we are on both fronts. And this organization, this is what they do, it's all they do, and they do it via paper, via online, and then they call people and they follow up. So it's mailed to constituents' home, and then we'll also break down the results, make sure it's statistically valid in each district.
All right, you got a requested amount of $55,000. Is that in your budget this year?
What I have done is I had advertising dollars that I had spent on the emergency rental assistance program. I was able to get reimbursed from those dollars from the CARES Act, and so I'm using that money that has been reimbursed into my budget.
Well, you've got a 1 year with an option to renew for 2. Is that additional 55 each year?
Yes, sir, I believe it would be.
So,
If we wanted to do it again, we would have to build out some money in my budget for the next.
would
the
you
coming
want
years.
to, would you want to do it again within a couple of years? Is that going to be your metric?
Yes, this would be our baseline. The hope would be that we would do this
Well, yeah, well, we
maybe every
hope
2 years.
we get a baseline, and we'll get with y'all,
That seems pretty.
update our strategic plan, and we may not need it in 2 years.
Can we have one question that says, hey, is it better than it used to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'm going to go on down to the other business, and then we're going to go back to Cal.
I move all your, 1 through 9.
Well, I've got some that are in the process. All grants, with the exception of McAdoo Fire in Martintown, are through the process at the county manager level. These are all their cars, their Antioch Fire Department down there that they need a vehicle to help transport people.
Or you got some you need to add, is what you're saying?
And
Well, let me
yeah, the grants for new business.
1 through 9 first.
All right, 1 through 9.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
And I thank you for giving my high school $5,000.
Yes.
In addition to the 5 I just gave them. So they'll be very happy. So any more money you want to give to my schools will be,
Well, I was hoping for repercussion for that.
huh?
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Let me see.
He gets some benefits.
I move for unanimous consent.
Just kidding, Joe. Okay. All right, have, move for unanimous consent for items 7702, 7724, 7725, 7729, 7726, 7728, and 7730. These are all been through the process at the county manager level. He's checked off on them.
And I can give them a copy.
Okay, he's got the copy for him. We have a motion and a second for these items of new business. All in favor say aye.
I'll move the items.
Items been moved, I'll second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's done. Ambulance update. Still got problems. They're working hard to try to get those alleviated. Hoover's running their own right now. Bessemer has bought 2 and have them equipped. They run them on an emergency basis now. I saw where the city of Midfield said they wasn't having any trouble right now. So I am proud for them and glad that they are not having trouble.
I got a call from a constituent over the weekend, and the neighbor had a heart attack, and they couldn't get anyone to get her. They had to take her in the car.
Where are they located?
It's between Bessemer and around in that area. So I have their number. They said that I don't know how they got my personal cell number, but they said that they would let me know whether she, survived or not. But they had to transport her in their car.
There was one that they waited 55 minutes on Saturday about 1 o'clock that I was, I live next door to the fire station, so I hear everything. And that was very troubling. But they did finally an ambulance there. Just one of those things. We're going to work through it, and as we do, I'll do what keep everyone posted. Fitching consultants are are working hard to solve this thing. And
When will they have their report?
it's probably gonna be another 90 days, Joe. It's, they're trying to assemble everything and try to find, it's not a Jefferson County problem, it's a really a statewide problem that they're trying to condense down into the metro area, really. And it's gonna be some quasi-governmental entity that they're gonna have to dispatch from one place, and if you've got a good fire department that transports in Palmerdale, you'll call Palmerdale. If you've got someone in Glenwood that doesn't, you're gonna have to call in private at Glenwood or get Palmerdale to do it. It's difficult.
Commissioner, y'all ran over last week on your budget hearings, but RPS, Eric Penley, came to the Mayor's Association meeting and kind of gave an update on where they were and offered his assistance, meaning the mayors, to personally call him to try to work some things out too, if they service those areas too. So I know they're kind of on board working.
You have RPS, you got Shoals, and what they're doing, usually they didn't have a territory. Now they got territories. They want that territory. And they pay so much, they have a contract. It's so much per month and so much per run to get it done. And that's probably the same thing that they're doing. That's good. And, as long as they're engaged and we're getting better service than we were, we can adjust it and make sure we get things. I appreciate everyone's consideration of that. That's life and death stuff. Mr. Marker, 5-year plan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioners. So as we went through the capital 5-year plan and the budget meetings last week, we have a resolution to go forward to adopt that plan. So I'll read the resolution, or we can go through the projects again. It's at your pleasure. But the resolution is just generic and simple. It says we went through the plan, we're adopting it as kind of a prudent practice, and then this would give us, if y'all approve this gives Angela, Travis, and I opportunity to go forward and look at the detailed funding, how we're going to fund it. It also allows us to square up this year's capital budget with the plan, which is close now, but if you approve this, we need to make a few tweaks. Then we'd have to come back to you with the funding analysis and funding proposal at a little bit later date.
So basically, this is conceptual and it's dependent upon funding.
Right.
I move that.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Tyson.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Community Development and Human Resource Service Committee, we have nothing from the Coroner's Office, Department of Community Service and Workforce Development. We have some reports from Dr. Hamilton and also a presentation. Dr. Hamilton.
Good morning. Let me first go over the 2 agenda items. The first one is a resolution authorizing the Commission President to sign the combined license agreement statement of confidentiality with the continuum of care, which is one group. This is basically for our staff to be able to use that system, and they're trained to make sure that anything they're putting in the system or taking out is done in a confidential manner. The second item is PY19 CDBG ESG Home Amendment number 6. Basically, it does 2 things. One, it reduces the housing rehab grant program from $450,000 to $380,000, and moves $70,000 to the Docena Community Center. And also, it adds to the Salvation Army CDBG CD1 and CD3. The opportunity to provide mortgage assistance for those that have been impacted by COVID.
What is the reason for moving the $70,000 from the home rehabilitation to Docena?
The project came in over budget. We needed some, and we do that occasionally when we have extra money, we'll amend our program to make sure that we can have enough money to honor the contract.
Now, Docena Community Center, is that a shelter?
No, sir. It's a community center, and we actually having to do some improvements to the center.
Is this one of those projects that we're going to have to put forth funding to fund their operations like we're having to do some of the other places?
This is not a storm shelter. This is a community center.
Okay. I'll move the item.
Second.
The items 1 and 2 have been moved first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, we're gonna, what about item 3? He's gonna go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna
Go over item 3.
Good morning again, Commissioners. I know that there's a little bit of a rush for time, so I'm going to try to proceed through this presentation quickly so that you all can get to your executive session. But what we want to talk to you about this morning is the proposed modifications to the open season process. We're also going to be covering some updates that you all have heard before as it relates to our federal HUD programs. And then we're going to be talking about some new opportunities that the county has not taken advantage of over the years. The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development requires HUD entitlements to have an open season process. This is the time frame when consortium members can learn about the eligibility requirements of all of our programs, to include the CDBG program, the Emergency Solution Grant or ESG, and our Home Affordability Program. The purpose of the modification is to describe procedural components to involve pre-planning, coordination, project assessment and selection, and prioritizing the recommendation for approved projects. Under the CDBG program overview, HUD provides annual grants on a formula basis to states, cities, and counties to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing and suitable living environment by expanding the economic opportunities principally for low and moderate income persons. The HUD entitlement programs are for larger cities with populations of 50,000 and above, and urban counties with a population of 200,000 and above, who together receive 70% of the federal annual allocation. You need to come back. Well, I'm sorry. Okay. Smaller cities under the state program receive, together the larger cities and the urban counties receive 70% of the federal HUD allocation. And then under the small cities, which is operated by the state, they receive the remaining 30% of the available funds and allocate these funds to smaller cities, rural areas, which are not eligible to participate in the entitlement program. Next slide. How does HUD determine the grant allocations? They are determined on a the grant allocation by 2 formulas, Formula A and Formula B. On the Formula A, population is weighed at 25%. People living in poverty is weighed at 50%. Overcrowded units is weighed at 25%. On the Formula B, population growth lags since 1960 is weighed at 20%. People living in poverty is weighed at 30%, and pre-1940 housing units are weighed at 50%.
What's the definition of an overcrowded unit?
It measures several things. It measures the persons per room, the persons in the bedrooms, and it also looks at the square footage to make sure that there's sufficient space for people living in the household.
Yeah, that was back when those shotgun houses was made, and you had 7 people living in one room shack.
Just now I want to talk about the CDBG national objectives, which I think you all have heard in previous presentations. It deals with determining how we determine how our projects for CDBG fundings meet the eligibility requirements. First, projects that benefit predominantly low and moderate income persons, projects that eliminate an intimate health threat, and projects that eliminate slum and blight. Just to give you some examples of these national objectives, the LMI benefit can be achieved in several ways. First, if you have a project that's going to benefit the entire town, such as a senior center or a community center or a library, the town has to be at least 51% LMI, and this can be determined by a census tract. Project-defined areas also have to be determined to meet the 51% LMI criteria. However, if projects are less than 51%, as shown by the census, we can challenge the census by doing a door-to-door survey. And this would be the case that we just recently did over in Homewood in the Rosedale community. The census did not show that area to be 51% LMI. We did a door-to-door survey, and it was actually 85% low and moderate income. You all have often asked me what are the income levels to determine the low and moderate income criteria. It's based on how many people are in the household. For example, if you have somebody making $40,950, they meet the LMI criteria. For two people living in the household, if they make $46,800 or less, they meet the LMI criteria. And it goes on out to 8 persons. Examples of intimate health threats. Intimate health threats are projects that pose a threat to the health of the community. For example, national disasters, also malfunctioning water wells that don't produce enough water, or they're contaminated with coliform bacteria and fecal material. We also just recently, as you know, funded the Microdori fire apparatus project due to them not having adequate fire protection by not having enough fire trucks. And of course, all of these projects on the intimate health threat does not go towards the LMI benefit. Slum and blight is defined as areas exhibiting objective signs of deterioration sufficient to constitute a threat to human health and safety. A good example of that would be an abandoned downtown area that we have in some of the areas in our consortium.
On the fire apparatus issue, what is the criteria for applying for that?
Well, they can again apply through our program, and as you remember, we did the project over in Trafford.
Right.
We actually used the same criteria, intimate health threat, to fund that one, just as we did over in Microdori.
After we canceled the water well project.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Let's talk briefly about the benefits to persons of low and moderate income. The CDBG program requires that 70% of the CDBG funds benefit low and moderate income persons. So for example, if we have $1 million, we have to spend $700,000 of those funds to benefit low and moderate income people. The other 30% can be used for intimate threat and the elimination of slum and blight. Let's talk just a second about the Jefferson County Entitlement Jurisdiction, or the consortium. Jefferson counties and the cities of Birmingham and Hoover are entitlement jurisdictions based on population. However, Hoover waived its designation and is now a part of the Jefferson County Consortium. The city of Bessemer, under a special designation, is eligible as an entitlement jurisdiction as well. The cities of Helena and Summerton are both non-entitlement cities and participate in the state program. And all of our consortium partners within Jefferson County, of course, are eligible to receive CDBG funding through our department.
Why did Hoover waive its designation?
Well, one of the reasons is the amount of funds that they were receiving from HUD was not, they didn't receive enough administration funds to operate their programs. So it really wasn't worth them, going through the process of administering that program when they didn't have sufficient administrative funds. Just a few things on the benefits of the consortium. The immediate effect of the consortium partnership is economic. as to the county, because we are able to incorporate the aggregate population, housing, and socioeconomic demographics of the partner jurisdictions, we receive a larger formula allocation than solely based on the county's population and socioeconomic conditions. One of the things I can also tell you about as an advantage to being one of our consortium members, for those that don't participate in our consortium membership, they have to apply to ADECA, and this is a very competitive process. ADECA's applications require either a regional planning commission or a grant consultant to prepare the applications. Civil engineers have to be engaged to do the infrastructure projects because they want a detailed cost estimate. And architects also have to be engaged because they have to prepare a cost estimate for the application for public facilities. The consortium partnership and LMI percentage. The Jefferson County consortium population is estimated to be 481,000. The consortium LMI population is 180,090, and the percent of citizens at 80% of area median income is 37.34. And those that 37.34 is the low and moderate income persons within our consortium. I want to talk now about our planning and evaluation process. The consolidated plan is required by all HUD entitlements to be developed. Our consortium is required to prepare this plan once every 5 years, and it describes the jurisdictional needs, resources, and priorities and proposed activities to be undertaken by the CDBG, ESG, and HOME program. There are 5 components to developing the plan, which includes a description of the jurisdiction community development needs, multi-year goals based on the assessment of housing and community development needs, analysis of housing needs, analysis of economic market conditions, as well as available resources. After the 5-year plan is completed, we are required to prepare an annual action plan, which is a concise summary of action, activities, and specific federal, non-federal resources that will be used each year to address the priority needs and specific goals that were identified in the 5-year consolidated plan. 90 days after the end of the program year, we're required to prepare a CAPER, or a Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, and this is a description of resources made available, the investment of available resources, and the families and persons assisted to include racial and ethnic status. In other words, the resources and those that benefited from the program that particular year. Are we on the Citizens Participation Plan?
Change it. Flat.
Thank you. Okay. All HUD entitlement entities are required to prepare a Citizens Participation Plan, which allows the citizens of the consortium the ability to make comments on various aspects of the program. We have an advisory council, which includes representatives from the consortium partners, meeting with the staff to make recommendations on the planning process. We also have persons from the unincorporated areas of the county participating in this process, as well as local and regional institutions, the continuum of care, which is dealing with the homeless population, and other organizations to include business developers and nonprofit organizations. We're required to hold 2 public hearings at different times doing the assessment of our fair housing, the consolidated plan, and the annual action plan, which one is required during the development of the plan, and then one before the proposed plan is published for public review. The draft of the fair housing, the consolidated plan, and the annual action plan is published in one local newspaper of general circulation, which would be the Birmingham News, one minority newspaper, which would be the Birmingham Times, and then one or more non-English newspapers as required by the limited English proficiency plan, and in this case it would be the Latino News for Spanish-speaking people in Jefferson County. The adopted consolidated and action plan, any amendments to the plan, the CAPER are available for viewing at the department and on the county's website. There are different activities that require substantial amendments, which include addition of new activities or a project not in the consolidated plan, a deletion of an activity in the consolidated or action plan, a change in scope and location of beneficiaries, a change in the use of funds from one activity to another, similar to what we just did today, and a change in activity or project as described in the annual action plan, or if we change the dollar amount of a proposed project by more than 25%. Under our new open season or proposed modified open season process, I want to let you all know that the first open season meeting for 2021 or 22, I'm sorry, will begin on September the 21st of this year. The next meeting will be held on the 21st of October, and the final meeting on November the 12th.
Where will these meetings be?
They're going to be virtual due to COVID. We're doing them virtually. And so what we will be doing is we'll be sending, like we've done in previous years, the schedule to you all, so you also can also send them to any of your constituents. The applications for non-housing will be received at the end of January of 2022, and the housing rehabilitation applications will be received at the end of February. The seniors don't get their Social Security benefits until the end of the year, and that is a requirement that they submit that information with their application so that we can determine eligibility. Organizations submitting applications inside of a city will be required to provide the application to that city in advance to allow them to review. The applications will be set up to determine the most critical community development needs. We've modified our application so that we can assess the needs and make a better determination on our funding priorities. We're also doing a greater outreach this year than we've done previously. We are sending the open season notice to the unincorporated fire districts, the neighborhood association, and faith-based organizations. Now I just want to, as I get to the end, I want to talk about two opportunities that we have not taken advantage of over the years, and I think this provides the county with some viable opportunities to further develop the consortium. And the first one is the Section 108 loan program, which allows the grantee to borrow up to 5 times the annual grant allocation. HUD acts as the guarantor of the loan made from the private market funds. The entitlement jurisdiction pledges the current and future CDBG funds as security for the loan, and the program provides grantees a vehicle to borrow larger sums of money to help them to undertake larger scale intensive projects and provide the grantee the opportunity to extend the impact of the CDBG program. And I want to give you an example on this one, particularly in your district, Commissioner Ammons. We did a sidewalks project over in Rosedale, and it took us 6 years to actually develop and finish that project. Under this particular program, we could have done that all in one project and been done with it. So I wanted to point that out. Some of the advantages of the 108 loan guarantee, the grantee, it does not affect the grantee's debt limit. The grantee has access again to 5 times its annual allocation. There's no referendum required. It accelerates the completion of CDBG activities. The term is 20 years. Fixed rate financing, so it eliminates the fluctuation with variable rates. And the program enables the grantee to avoid private benefits restrictions regarding the use of taxpayer general funds to benefit private interests, since the Section 108 loan uses federal entitlement funding and not tax revenue. Another program that we have not taken advantage of that
I have a question.
Sure.
Who would be the grantee of one of these funds? Would that be us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We would.
But it's a loan, right?
It would be a loan. That's the key. The key to it is it would be a loan, but it gives us the opportunity to do larger scale projects as opposed to having to do them in 5 or 6 phases.
What would be an example of a large scale project that we would take this much loan and take 20 years to pay it back?
Well, again, we could use Homewood as an example. We've done housing. We did some housing over in the Rosedale community with our home program. We did, again, 5 phases of projects for sidewalks. We've done housing rehabilitation over in those communities. So instead of it taking 5 or 6 years to accomplish, we could have achieved that.
What was the estimated amount of total funds you put over there?
It was over $1 million, $1.2 million that we put in Rosedale. And, those people over there walking in the streets, they can't access the downtown area that well. And so we could have made all those things a lot, been accomplished a lot quicker.
What would be 5 times our CDBG now?
Well, our CDB allocation has been about 2.5 million, so it'd be 5 times that.
And it's really needed too.
Right, and so and I just want to say that's needed throughout the consortium, but I use Homewood as an example because it took us 6 years to do a project that we could have did in 1 or 2 years, however long it would
But it was a pay-go, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And that would not count
So we
against our general fund?
No, sir, it would not.
That was, wouldn't we be the guarantor of that loan?
No, HUD guarantees the loan.
So we can borrow it?
Well, we can, but we have to pay you either, like, for example, if we did a
They're
loan.
gonna come after us.
Well,
We'll pay it back.
let me explain it. So, if we made a loan, it would be guaranteed by HUD. If we didn't pay it back, then they would basically take it from future CDBG allocations.
So it would be.
That's correct. All right. Another opportunity quickly that we have not taken advantage of is the neighborhood revitalization strategy areas. And this program seeks to create partnerships among federal and local governments, the private sector, community organization, and neighborhood residents. Stimulating investment through comprehensive initiatives allows for the following. Inclusive planning leads to greater community participation and supports increasing the likelihood of success of an urban revitalization. Of course, collaboration creates a strategy with a set of approaches. Implementation by a broader array of partners adds compounded value. And again, the coordination of solutions to revitalize a certain area as the county would choose.
Was that how do you pay for it?
Now, in this one, I'm going to tell you these are the funds below that can be leveraged. Of course, we can use all of our CDBG programs, which would be CDBG, I should say CDBG at home, because typically you're not going to have much of an ESG or homeless type situation in a neighborhood. You could also use the tax credit programs, choice neighborhood. Again, you can go back and use your Section 108 and any other competitive grant. But it's really for taking a project where you have a lot of deterioration and basically use this program to revitalize that by using a transformational type plan.
Yeah.
Finally, I want to point out two charts here. The first one, I wanted to show how much funding we spent with CDBG and CDBG DR since 2014 and 2020. There in District 1, $3,126,000, a little better. District 2, $1,663,598. District 3, $11,229,770. District 4, $4,672,255, and District 5, $479,329. Now, what I want to point out is all of the districts were not eligible for the CDBG DR funds because it was only those areas impacted by the 2011 tornado. So if you look at the funding that we use with the CDBG that we get on an annual basis, then Commissioner Tyson's District 2 is leading the way in that regard. And then you can see, that Commissioner Stevens' area has received a lot because his area was really directly impacted by that tornado in 2011. Last slide, please. And this last one basically demonstrates all of the federal programs that our office has engaged in us from that same period of 2014 to 2020. And looking at all of the programs, I'm not going to list them, but we have actually administered $115,633,179.
That's over a 6-year period?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So if there's any questions, I'll entertain them. I know that you all are rushed for time.
Well,
but-
can we get a copy of this?
Yes, sir. I'll email it to everybody when I get back to the office.
Yeah.
Didn't we send that out before?
Yeah.
We submitted the narrative piece, not the presentation, the piece.
No, the amounts of funding.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's in there, that's correct. It's in there, but if you want the whole presentation, I can send that to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be good to have it
Yes, sir.
before the presentation.
See it, didn't
We'll take it.
Okay.
you? too.
Thank you.
Yes. So, y'all, so Dr. Hamilton, will we start, we are going to apply for this new funding, right?
We are,
Which new fund?
well, we're going to start giving considerations to projects that would fall under the.
That we would borrow the money for
So this is a very detailed process. The whole entire application has to be done. Have to compile a lot of data and information. So once we work it up, then we'll submit it to the commission for consideration in terms of the application. Now, one other piece. Now, Doc, did you include a grant writer in your budget request?
We did.
Because that's going to be critically necessary.
And that, they should be interviewing for that position within the next month. We've been working with HR to fill that position, but it's something that's needed because there's so many more resources that we could be taking advantage of that we can't because of staffing shortages in that area.
But sounds like we're gonna make an application for that 108.
Well, I think we're going to begin assessing the need before the application is made.
Any more questions? All righty. Thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton. Do we have anyone on the line from Family Court?
I move 1, 2, 3.
Second.
There's in first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's the end of my presentation.
Okay, we have Public Works, Community Service, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee. We have 2 items for environmental services. One is a replacement of 13,800 feet of sanitary sewer from 8-inch to 12-inch. And the other is an institute form technologies for sanitary sewer rehabilitation.
Motion 1 and 2.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The other is a
Move it.
freshwater land trust grant. A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. I know we have an opinion from our county attorney, Theo Lawson, that an executive session is warranted pursuant to 3625A7A3 Code of Alabama for the sale and exchange of real property. We need a time and any action.
I would say we'll try to get it done in 45 minutes. Will be no action this time. Probably be done.
25 minutes, no action.
Move for executive session.
You said 25 or 45?
45.
45.
45.
All right. We have a motion.
I move that we shorten that 45 this year.
Did you have something?
I just wanted to congratulate Cal on a well-deserved promotion, and that I talked to you before I cast my vote, and I talked to him not only one time, several times. And when I make my decision not only as a sitting commission, I try to make my decision for the whole Jefferson County and represent the people. And it's the process that I did not like, and I told Cal that, and never had to do it again, I'll do it again. But I do think that Cal deserved the position, and I have worked with him, even though y'all might have known him longer, but I've had to work with him in detail outside more than anyone. And he has did more, I think, in my area than he have with dealing with the citizens than anyone, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I also send them a note of congratulations. And I voted for you, sir.
Thank you.
But that don't make him love you no more than me.
I voted for you too.
Get a whipping from your mama, don't make her.
They're pretty good,
Don't make her hate you no more, she hate when she don't whip her.
That's right. I love you, put.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We're going here.
we'll stay right here. We'll make sure everything's off. Helen?